Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be going over Skill Demo 2. When you open your workspace, you should be able to see a number of txt files that we'll be populating throughout the steps of the skill demo. The first thing that we'll do is open the terminal and clone the given GitHub repository. After this, we should be able to see a new directory called chat server that has been created and has a number of files. It has chatserver.java and server.java that are the relevant files for running the chat server, and it has handler test.java, which tests the functionality of our server. It also has the lib files, which we'll be using for running the tests, and a bash script called test.sh, which has the javac and java commands. Now, the next step requires us to edit this script so that it runs the appropriate test class. We see that the javac command here compiles all of the Java files. We'll go ahead and uncomment line 5, which has the Java command for actually running the tests. We notice that it is missing the actual class name. So we'll go ahead into our test file, copy the class name, and put it into our bash script. Now, if we cd into chat server, and try to run the bash script using bash test.sh, we should be able to see some output for the test files. So we see that there were 3 tests run and there was 1 failure, which is expected based on the instructions given. And we are told that there is a problem with the test and not with the code. So when we go ahead and try to fix this test for the next step, we should not make any changes to the server files. We only need to make any changes to handler test.java. Before that, let's go ahead and copy this output and paste it into test_fail_output.txt. Okay. Now, if we look at the output, it says that there was one failure in handle request 2. And the failure was that the parameters did not match the expected value of the parameters. So if we look at handle request 2, we see that we are creating a chat handler object and a string URL. This URL has the path chat, and the query is in the format name equals Edwin and message equals Happy Friday. We are then creating a URI object and passing this to handle request. The expected output based on this query should be Edwin: Happy Friday. But if we look at what the path chat expects in our actual code, we see that the query format expected is that of user equals name and message equals string, which is different from what we give in the test. So we go ahead and change it. Now our query has the format user equals Edwin and message equals Happy Friday. We'll quickly cross check that it's correct. This is user and message. Yep. If we try to run our test again, let's see what happens. Okay, so the tests have passed now, and we can go ahead and copy this output into test success output.txt. Now, the next step requires us to compile and run the chat server. So let us run the javac command with the chat server file. And then we'll go ahead and run Java with our class name chat server. But before that, let us go ahead and see if there are any expected arguments for the class. So when we open the chatserver.java file and we look at the class chat server, we see that it expects one argument, which is the port at which the server will be running. I'll go ahead and give it 4000. Now the next steps can be done on the terminal using curl, but I'll be doing it on the browser itself. The first thing that we see that when the root path loads, the output just shows 404 not found. This is simply because there is no implementation for the root path in handle request right now. So it defaults to the string 404 not found. Okay. The next step requires us to load the path chat on the server with a query of username Yash and the message hi. Let us go ahead and do that. Okay. Now we'll copy this output and paste it into the file called queryoutput.txt. Now we need to add a case for root path. As we saw before, at the root path, we were simply saying 404 not found, but instead it should show the string of all the chat messages so far. So we need to add a condition for the root path. And the expected return value should be the string of all chat messages so far. Luckily, we have this field called chat history that as and when a chat is being added, chat history is being appended with the new messages. And so it's always up to date with all of the messages that have been given to the server so far. So in this case, we can simply return the variable chat history. Okay. Now we need to recompile and rerun the chat server. We need to load the bar chat with the message Joe and hi. Okay. And then with the username Yash and message hi. Okay. Now if we look at the root path again, it should show the current state of the chats, which is the output now. We're not getting 404 not found. So we go ahead and copy it and paste it into the file called rootoutput.txt. Now we need to add one new test method into our handler test file. This method should test the behavior of the root path implementation that we just added, and it should test using a single chat with a username Joe and the message hi on the chat path, and it should assert that the returned result from the root path is correct. So let us go ahead and open the handler tests file. We'll start by writing the test. We'll go ahead and call it handle request root. The first thing that we'll need is the chat handler object. So we'll create that. Then we need to create a query, create a chat path query. Okay, so we'll create a string URL1. We'll use localhost. Give it the chat path, the user Joe, and the message hi. Now, because our handle request method accepts a URI object, we need to convert the string. We need to create a URI object out of the string. Once we have this, we can pass it to the handle request method. Okay. Now let's actually test the root path. So we'll create a URI object of the root path. For that, we first need the string. And then the URI object. Now, the expected output should be just the string Joe and hi. So we'll go ahead and create that. And we'll write an assert equal statement to check that the expected string matches the output of the handle request when we pass it the URI with the root path. Okay, let us go ahead and run this test again. We can do it using the bash script that we had and see what happens. Okay, turns out there's a small syntax error. Let's fix that. Okay, now we can see that all of our tests have passed. We will go ahead and copy this and paste it into the file called new test output.txt. The next step requires us to click Save and Grade to make sure that our submission has been recorded. We see that we have passed all of the steps. Thank you all for watching the video. Have a great day.